The year is 1960. The world is progressing marvelously in the feet of the industrial age, and life is magnificent in the new world. Jack, our protagonist, finds himself on a plane set for an unknown destination, and as ill luck would have it, the plane malfunctions somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean and crash lands into the infinite depth below. Jack, miraculously surviving the crash, submerges from the water. Flames and debris surround his immediate vision. A massive structure towers in the distance, and Jack makes his way towards it for safety. Being the only visible survivor, we set on inside the mysterious building and are introduced to a banner denouncing greater authority over man. We venture lower into the structure and are presented with a strange pod called the bathysphere, a spherical vessel that's used in undersea observation. Jack pulls the lever and engages his descent. A short presentation plays out, introducing us to the world we're about to enter.
I am Andrew Ryan, and I'm here to ask you a question. Is a man not entitled to the sweat of his brow? No, says the man in Washington, it belongs to the poor. No, says the man in the Vatican, it belongs to God. No, says the man in Moscow, it belongs to everyone. I rejected those answers. Instead, I chose something different. I chose the impossible. I chose Rapture. A city where the artist would not fear the censor, where the scientist would not be bound by petty morality, where the great would not be constrained by the small. And with the sweat of your brow, Rapture can become your city as well.
The lighthouse is all lit up like hellfire. Looks like some kind of plane crash. Here in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. How could it? With how? You best get over there. And be quick about it. The splicers are coming. You gotta be kidding. How do you know what's coming? Because we all try to clear the way now. That means we've got company.
We enter the underwater city, but it's immediately made clear to us that something has gone very wrong here. We are attacked by something that seems human, but is horrifyingly disfigured. The protection of the bathysphere keeps us safe, and the creature eventually runs off. A new voice is made evident to us from a portable radio in the sphere, and we are here introduced to someone by the name of Atlas, a mysterious figure who offers us guidance throughout Rapture. We proceed on into the city, navigating through rubble and chaos, and are provided with a weapon to defend ourselves. We then come across the Gatherer's Garden, a vending machine distributing plasmids, a substance that gives the user special abilities upon consumption. We'll learn more about plasmids and their origin throughout the story. We inject the plasmid and go through rigorous body transformation as our genetic code is rewritten. We awaken with the ability to cast lightning from our fingertips and use this to override doors throughout Rapture. We proceed on through the collapsing city, Atlas asking us to save his family that's trapped somewhere in Rapture.
Got a family. I need to get them out of here.
We come across another figure who seems mentally and physically unstable. Atlas refers to them as splicers, tells us more about them.
Plasmids changed everything. They destroyed our bodies, our
Now, I would like to point out that the majority of the story of Bioshock is presented to us through voice recordings that Jack located throughout Rapture. I'll be showing some of the more important ones as we come across them. Try to wrap things up nicely near the end so everything makes sense. There are several characters and many small details about the events of Rapture, so I'll do my best to convey them appropriately as we go on. We now enter a nearby theater and are introduced to the Little Sisters.
Would you kindly lower that weapon for a minute? You think that's a child down there? Don't be fooled. She's a little sister now. Somebody went and turned a sweet baby girl into a monster. Whatever you thought about right and wrong on the surface, well, that don't count for much down in Rapture. Those little sisters, they carry Adam, the genetic material that keeps the wheels of Rapture turning. Everybody wants it, everybody needs it.
As Atlas has explained to us, these little girls collect a substance called Adam from the corpses of people, and we are told that it's a very important part of Rapture. We are also introduced to the Big Daddies, giant creatures assigned to protect the Little Sisters, as they are defenseless on their own. We'll learn more about this later, so let's move on for now. We progress on and are soon greeted by a message from Andrew Ryan, the founder of Rapture. He accuses us of being a spy and unleashes splicers to attack us, but we manage to escape into the medical pavilion. We proceed on through the pavilion and come across a series of recordings from Dr. Steinman, and we are given a bit more insight into the uses of Adam. You see, Adam allows the user to change their body in any way they want.
But Adam gives us the means to do it. And Ryan frees us from the phony ethics that held us back. Change your look, change your sex, change your race. It's yours to change. Nobody else's.
Steinman will act as the means to do this, providing his patients with whatever changes they desire. We are given insight into Steinman's psyche and how the use of Adam corrupted his mind by trying to perfect the image of beauty.
I am beautiful, yes. Look at me. What could I do to make my features finer? With Adam and my scalpel, I have been transformed. But is there not something better? What if now it is not my skill that fails me, but my imagination?
Steinman adopts the idea that because there is a choice, beauty has become a moral obligation, and that everyone in Rapture is to follow the standard by altering their appearance. We continue onwards and gain several more plasmid abilities, the ability to ignite flames and the ability of telekinesis, which we'll use to progress the story. We enter the surgical wards and more is made clear to us about the appearance of the splicers. With no limitation to modifications, people would morph their appearances in horrible ways. Steinman would be the artist, and they would be the canvassers, even beyond their consent.
4-0 silk and done.
The nose looks terrific, Dr. Steinman. Doctor?
You know, looking at it now, I didn't realize how much her face sags. Scalpel?
Excuse me?
Scalpel.
Doctor, she's not booked for a facelift.
Let's just come in here and...
Doctor, stop cutting. Doctor, stop cutting. Get me the chief of surgery. Get me the chief of surgery now!
We finally locate Steinman and put an end to his reign of horror. With newfound access, we continue on the path to find Atlas's family. But before we do, we come across an unprotected little sister and a new character, Dr. Tenenbaum. We learn that she is responsible for the creation of the Little Sisters. Atlas instructs us to harvest them for Adam, essentially killing them, while Tenenbaum provides us with a plasma that allows us to free them instead, turning them back into their human form. The player is given the freedom to make this decision themselves, each choice lending way to a different outcome of the story. We will, however, be focusing on the good ending here today, freeing all the little sisters we come across.
Thank you.
Jack now makes his way onward to Neptune's bounty. As we progress through the district, we come across a series of recordings from Tenenbaum explaining the discovery of Adam. According to her, there was a fisherman in Rapture who was attacked by an unknown type of sea slug. This miraculously cured all his ailments and gave him function of motor skills that were previously impaired. Dr. Tenenbaum began researching the strange creature and discovered its ability to alter the human body. We'll circle back to this later. Tenenbaum reached out to the respectable labs of Rapture for supplies to further her research on the slugs, but she was inevitably turned down by them. She then opted to reach out to a man named Fontaine, a prominent smuggler in Rapture. Fontaine managed to build quite the name for himself and has amassed quite the following. Together with Tenenbaum, they began the harvesting of Adam and the production of plasmids, overtaking the markets of Rapture with the name Fontaine Futuristics. Andrew Ryan, after discovering that Fontaine has been illegally smuggling goods into the city, sets out to arrest him for disrupting the independence of Rapture from the outside world. We'll touch more on this later in the story. Jack makes his way through the fisheries and to the hideout where Atlas's family is being kept. We enter the underbelly of Rapture and finally locate the bathysphere that supposedly contains Atlas's family. We open the security doors for Atlas himself to rescue his family, but before he can, Ryan unleashes a horde of splicers and destroys the bathysphere. Atlas, full of rage towards Ryan, vows to kill him and requests the help of the player. We set our sights towards Andrew Ryan and make our way towards Arcadia. As we explore the nature district, whose purpose is to create oxygen for Rapture, we discover a diary explaining the practicality of Adam.
The augmentation procedure is a success. The slugs alone could not provide enough Adam for serious work, but combined with the host, now we have something. The slug is embedded in the lining of the host's stomach, and after the host feeds, we induce regurgitation. And then we have 20-30 times yield of usable Adam. The problem now is the shortage of hosts. Fontaine says patience, Tannenbaum. Soon, the first home for little sisters will open, and that problem will be solved.
As Tenenbaum explains, in order to get the maximum output of Adam, the slug needs to be embedded into the host first. Unfortunately, the only viable option being children, specifically young girls. This leads to Fontaine creating the Little Sisters Orphanage. Andrew Ryan, in a suicidal attempt, tries to cut off the oxygen throughout Rapture. The player, through a series of tasks, manages to restore things back to normal and proceeds on to the Fort Frolic district.
That's better. Atlas Ryan. Atlas Ryan. Da 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 da. Time-wise, you could get something decent on the radio. The artist has a duty to seduce the ear and delight the spirit. So say goodbye to those two blowhards, and hello to an evening with Sander Cohen.
Player is introduced to Sander Cohen, a fanatic artist gone mad, who orders the player to collect a series of photos of his dead disciples in contribution to his latest art piece. After the player collects all 4 pictures and completes the mural, Sander Cohen makes quite the entrance.
It is accomplished! Let me see it.
He thanks us for our efforts and grants us access to the next district. The player can choose to kill Cohen if they so please, rewarding us with a few extra items, but it's not imperative to the story either way. The player makes his way to the bathysphere and takes one step closer to Andrew Ryan. We find ourselves in the heart of Rapture, and through a series of recordings learn that Andrew Ryan took over Fontaine's company. He reluctantly but ultimately came to accept the importance of the ever-growing need of Adam in Rapture, and adopted the production of it. He shut down the orphanages, and used separate facilities to house the little sisters. Rapture depends on Adam, and Ryan understands that, despite the side effects.
Is there blood on the streets? Of course. Have some chosen to destroy themselves with careless splicing? Undeniable. But I will make no proclamations. I will dictate no laws. The great chain moves slowly, but with wisdom. It is our impatience that invites in the parasite of big government. And once you've invited it in, it will never stop feeding on the body of the city.
We locate Ryan's quarters, but in order to access it, we have to disable the core that powers its security system. While setting out to do this, Ryan communicates with the player, filling our head with doubts.
A man builds a city at the bottom of the sea. That's a marvel. Another man happens to be on a plane that crash lands on the same city in the middle of the ocean. Why, that sounds more like a miracle.
We stumble upon the remnants of an unfinished EMP bomb and set out to complete it. After collecting a series of parts, we assemble the bomb and make our way to the core. Andrew continuing to sow doubt.
So far away from your family, from your friends, from everything you ever loved. But for some reason, you like it here. You feel something you can't quite put your finger on. Think about it for a second, and maybe the word will come to you. Nostalgia.
We disable the core and head back to the now accessible quarters of Andrew Ryan.
Even in the Book of Lies, sometimes you find truth. There is indeed a season for all things. And now that I see you flesh to flesh and blood to blood, I know I cannot raise my hand against you. But know this, you are my greatest disappointment. Does your master hear me? Atlas, you can kill me, but you will never have my city. My strength is not in steel and fire. That is what the parasites will never understand. A season for all things. A time to live and a time to die. A time to build and a time to destroy!
Did you daughter your puppy? She's very pretty.
Thank you, Papa Sushon.
Break her neck for me.
What?
Break that sweet puppy's neck. No, please. Break that puppy's neck. Would you kindly? No. No. Very good.
The assassin has overcome my final defense, and now he's come to murder me. In the end, what separates a man from a slave? Money? Power? No. A man chooses. A slave obeys. You think you have memories. A farm. A family. An airplane. A crash. And then this place. Was there really a family? Did that airplane crash? Or was it hijacked? Forced down. Forced down by something less than a man, something bred to sleepwalk through life until they are activated by a simple phrase spoken by their kindly master. Was a man sent to kill, or a slave? A man chooses. A slave obeys. Come in. Stop, would you kindly? Would you kindly? Powerful phrase. Familiar phrase.
Would you kindly? Would you kindly get this? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find that? Would you kindly find? Would you kindly get this thing? Would you kindly head to Ryan's office and kill the son of a bitch?
Sit, would you kindly? Stand, would you kindly? Run! Stop! Turn. A man chooses. A slave obeys. Kill! A man chooses. A slave obeys. Obey!
Hurry now! Grab Ryan's genetic key! Now would you kindly put it in that goddamn machine?
Here, one of the greatest plot twists in gaming history unravels before us. Atlas reaches out to us and orders us to begin the self-destruction of Rapture. He here reveals his true identity. Atlas informs the player that he has been Frank Fontaine all along, stringing the player on like a puppet since the very beginning. You see, Jack isn't just a random passenger from a coincidental plane crash. Jack was originally the unborn child of Andrew Ryan and Jasmine Jolene. Jasmine, going through a financial crisis, sold the embryo of the unborn child to Tenenbaum on behalf of Fontaine. All of this unbeknownst to Ryan. A Dr. Suchong began gross experiments on the child and mentally conditioned him as a sleeper agent.
Advanced deployment, Lot 111, Dr. Suchong, client Fontaine Futuristics. Baby is now a year old, weighs 58 pounds, and possesses gross musculature of a fit 19-year-old. The results are disappointing, but within expected tolerances.
Sometime after Fontaine faked his death, he sent Jack to the surface with fake memories of a life and family he never had. In 1960, Jack boards a plane across the Atlantic, having been activated from his sleeper state after receiving a gift with the words, "Would you kindly" on them. Jack hijacked the plane using a gun smuggled in the gift he was provided with. He then crash-landed the plane near the coordinates of the entrance of Rapture, beginning a chain of events that leads us to our current position. Fontaine thanks Jack for providing him with the keys to Rapture and orders an attack on him with his newfound access to the security system. Jack attempts to run away and is led to an escape route by one of Tenenbaum's little sisters. Jack enters the vent and it collapses, knocking Jack unconscious. We awaken in Tenenbaum's sanctuary. Tenenbaum undoes some of Fontaine's mental conditioning, removing the "Would you kindly" trigger. Fontaine proves to Jack that he still has control over him by activating the phrase Code Yellow, beginning the process of heart failure in Jack. With the help of Tenenbaum, Jack locates the cure and administers it, freeing himself from Fontaine's grip. Now with everything out of the way, Jack heads to Point Prometheus to finally confront Fontaine. Fontaine locks himself behind security doors that only Little Sisters can bypass, and Tenenbaum prompts the player to acquire the outfit of a Big Daddy in order to request help from them to proceed. After collecting the various components, the player enters the suit and completes the transformation. Jack now calls upon the Little Sisters and does so to unlock the path towards Fontaine. Before we reach the conclusion of our story, I feel that there has been many loose ends left on the wayside of our journey. I'm going to engage in a brief summary of the story, hopefully clearing up any confusions and addressing everything I might have missed along the way. On the 5th of November 1946, Andrew Ryan, an eccentric visionary, founded the city of Rapture, a shining metropolis situated at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Ryan despised large governments and set out to create a world where man would not have to fear limitations on their creativity. Soon after establishing the city, the scientist Dr. Tenenbaum made the discovery of Adam, originating from an unknown sea slug located near Rapture. Tenenbaum, after being turned down by the scientific labs of Rapture for further investigation, opted to seek help from Frank Fontaine, a notorious smuggler who came to Rapture to sell contraband goods to the people. Fontaine obliged Tenenbaum and provided her with any funding she required, seeing the business opportunity in doing so. Adam was discovered to have the ability to rewrite the genetic code of humans, allowing people to change their physical appearance and grant them supernatural abilities. Fontaine founded a business called Fontaine Futuristics, where he would employ Tenenbaum and Yi Suchong to research and develop plasmids and gene tonics. Tenenbaum informed Fontaine that they could mass-produce Adam by implanting the sea slugs into little girls, as they were found to be the only viable hosts. Fontaine would then go on to create the Little Sisters Orphanage, a charity which was a front to get parents to voluntarily give up their children, who would then be turned into Little Sisters to mass-produce Adam. Fontaine would then create the Little Wonders Educational Facility. The friendly-looking foundation lulled the public into a false sense of the children's security and safety, but in reality served as the facility where the children were surgically implanted with sea slugs. Andrew Ryan would soon come to learn about Fontaine's illegal smuggling ring and set out a warrant for his arrest. Fontaine would then go on to fake his death, escaping his crimes and returning under the alias Atlas. Ryan would then go on to annex Fontaine Futuristics and all its assets. Ryan understood the importance of Adam and how it was vital to the city of Rapture. Though he originally shut down the orphanages, he opted to take control of the Little Wonders facility to use as a marketing tool. He would then go on to disguise it as a finishing school for young girls. The girls would be implanted with the slug and were disguised with face paint to hide their identities from their parents and the public. As time went on, the addictive nature of Adam would plague the city of Rapture. The demand eventually skyrocketed beyond what Rapture could produce, and the withdrawal symptoms drove the users insane. They would turn into the rabid splicers that we see all around Rapture, attacking anyone nearby in hopes to acquire more Adam. Yi Suchong, in an attempt to mitigate the issue, adapted the Little Sisters to extract residual Adam from dead bodies, which could then be used to recycle back into plasmids to sell. The Little Sisters would be extremely vulnerable, however, and would need some sort of protection from the dangerous splicers. Suchong would then create the Big Daddies, genetically modified men conditioned into protecting the Little Sisters. The Little Sisters would be heavily brainwashed into harvesting Adam and to bond with the Big Daddies, viewing them as their protectors. Ryan would slowly become a dictator within Rapture, and Atlas would start forming a revolution to overthrow him, sparking a civil war. Guerrilla tactics would be adopted by both sides, which would bring ruin to the city, claiming countless lives. Yi Suchong, now working for Ryan, proposed a means to end the war by administering pheromones into the plasmids that would allow Ryan to take control of the people. This was the ultimate betrayal of Ryan's philosophy. to deny the people their free will. Facing the destruction of his city, Ryan agreed to Sujong's suggestion. Atlas, now with his back against the wall, plays his final card and calls Jack back to the city. Now that we've come full circle, let's move on to the final scene. Jack now makes his way to confront Fontaine, where an epic battle commences. Fontaine has injected an exorbitant amount of Adam in preparation for the fight, but with the help of the Little Sisters, is defeated nonetheless.
I had you built! I sent you topside! I called you back, showed you what you was capable of! Even that life you thought you had, that was something I dreamed up and had tattooed inside your head! Now if you don't call that family, I don't know what is! And now...
They offered you this city. And you refused it. And what did you do instead? What I've come to expect of you. You saved them. You gave them the one thing that was stolen from them. A chance. A chance to learn. To find love. To live. And in the end, what was your reward? You never said. But I think I know. A family.
There are still so many minor details to this story that I have neglected to mention. I would definitely implore you, the viewer, to check out the Bioshock fandom wiki if you want to uncover more of the Bioshock lore or have any questions left unanswered. This website has been an invaluable resource in the creation of this video, and it is absolutely astonishing to see how well crafted and detailed it is. If any of you would like to support me and the channel, please consider joining me on Patreon. I offer my own personal piano covers of the soundtracks that you've heard throughout the video, as well as a bunch of behind the scenes stuff. By supporting me, you'll not only be helping me create more frequent and higher quality videos, but you'll be helping me continue doing what I love.